Hello friends and welcome to the Grave Detective channel. Today I'm standing on the Royal Naval Cemetery of Lyoness, located on the Isle of Hoy, one of the Orkney Islands, in the north of Scotland. The grave we are visiting today is the grave of Kuno Eversberg. But to better understand his story, I have to first explain an episode of the First World War, the internment of the German High Sea Fleet at Scapa Flow.
Article 23 of the armistice signed on the 11th of November 1918 concerned the German fleet. This article indicated that the warships of the German High Seas Fleet, indicated by the Allies and the USA, will at once be dismantled and then interned in neutral ports or, in default, in ports of the Allied powers. 10 days after the armistice, the disarmed German ships under the orders of Rear Admiral Ludwig von Reuter went to the North Sea, where they met the Allied ships. This opportunity was used by the Commander-in-Chief of the Royal Navy, Admiral David Beatty, to symbolically obtain his long-awaited victory over the German fleet. As a consequence, many journalists and photographers were invited to this event. Still symbolically, Beatty had ordered the Germans to hold down the German imperial flags at sunset, 3:57 p.m., and not to hoist them again without permission. After a brief passage through Rosyth in the Firth of Forth in Scotland, the German ships were finally interned in Orkney. On the 23rd of November 1918, the boats of the German fleet, disarmed and without flags, escorted and under the watch of the Royal Navy, arrived at Scapa Flow, a natural port in the middle of the Orkney Islands. The days then passed and looked the same, with their share of annoyances and boredom. Rear Admiral von Reuter took the opportunity to send many sailors back to Germany in order to reduce supply difficulties and to keep certain revolutionary sailors away. That calm lasted until the 21st of June 1919. That day, part of the English fleet left Scapa Flow to carry out exercises in the North Sea. At 11:30 a.m., an order was given from the Emden Zwei, the German flagship. The coded message said, Paragraph 11 bestätigen. Paragraph 11 confirm. This code has its origins within the German student world. Indeed, German students are used to saying Paragraph 11 when it comes to encouraging an assembly to cheer, toast and drink. At this order from the Emden, the flags of the German fleet were raised on several German boats that, little by little, started to sink into the waters. Admiral von Reuter had ordered the scuttling of the fleet. At 12:16, while she was sinking, the bell of the Friedrich der Große rang and alerted the British. The Royal Navy boats were then recalled, and chaotic scenes ensued on the waters of Scapa Flow. The British ordered the Germans to get back on board of their boats to prevent them from sinking, and even made efforts to strip down the German flags of the masts of sinking ships. They even went so far as to use their own boats to beach the German ships and thus prevent them from sinking.
This was, among others, the case for the Frankfurt and the Baden.
In the midst of this panic, some British sailors opened fire on the Germans who, however, did not threaten them and who, for the most part, surrendered to them. The result? 8 German sailors dead.
8 German sailors died on that day. There is though a ninth grave linked to these events, the grave of Kuno Eversberg. His story is a bit different than the story of his comrades.
Little is known about Kuno Eversberg. He was a machine engineer aboard the SMS Frankfurt, a light cruiser that the British had managed to beach. His ship was built in 1915 in Kiel and took part in the Battle of Jutland, also known as the Battle of Skagerrak, on the 31st of May and 1st of June 1916. The Frankfurt spent the rest of the war alternating between missions in the Baltic and the North Seas. Beached by the British on the 21st of June 1919, the boat was subsequently delivered to the United States Navy and sunk as a target ship on the 18th of July 1921. Following the scuttling of the German fleet, Kuno Eversberg, like all the other German sailors, was taken as a prisoner of war by the British and taken to a Royal Navy ship, the HMS Resolution. On the night of the 23rd to the 24th of June 1919, shortly after midnight, Kuno and one of his comrades were taken to the toilet by two British guards. Suddenly, a gunshot rang. Kuno was hit and his assailant fled into the night. Kuno was transported aboard the hospital ship Agadir, but despite medical help, he died on the night of the 28th to the 29th of June 1919. He was 19 years old. Initially, the facts were a bit underestimated by the local British commanders, but the British authorities did not see it that way. An inquiry was launched, led by Captain Frederick Aubrey Whitehead, commanding officer of HMS Royal Oak. After long delays, this inquiry led to the naming of a suspect, seaman James Woolley. James Woolley had notably explained to one of his comrades that he wanted to assassinate a German to avenge his brothers who died during the war. Having deserted, Woolley was finally arrested on the 18th of September 1919 and then handed over to civilian authorities. His trial took place on the 9th of February 1920. He was acquitted with a verdict of not proven. As early as 1919, the British authorities had discussed on the attitude to adopt towards Kuno Eversberg's relatives and had concluded that the sum of £300 should be allocated to Kuno's relatives. However, it is likely that his relatives never received this sum. In the 1920s and 1930s, local companies worked to salvage the sunken boats, mainly in order to recover the metal they were made of. The last boat to have been salvaged is the Derfflinger. In 1919, the sailors of the Derfflinger watched their ship sink while singing a song, Voll auf Kameraden. Salvaged in 1939, the ship was scrapped in 1948. Today, only its bell remains, located on the island of Eriskay in the Outer Hebrides Islands. Not all the wrecks have been salvaged to the delight of divers. The Markgraf, the König, the Kronprinz Wilhelm, the Karlsruhe, the turrets of the Bayern, the Brummer, the Köln II, the Dresden II, and the V-83 still lie in Scapa Flow between 20 and 40 meters deep. In 1939, at the start of the Second World War, another tragic event took place in the waters of Scapa Flow. On the night of the 13th to the 14th of October 1939, Captain Günther Prinz's submarine, the U-47, found a way through the anti-submarine obstacles and block ships and entered Scapa Flow. There, he discovered a British ship, the Royal Oak, the ship that had Captain Whitehead as commander 20 years earlier. Around 1 a.m., Prien launched his torpedoes against this ship. The Royal Oak sunk. 833 crew members lost their lives. Today, a green buoy indicates the presence of its wreck.
Kuno Eversberg is considered to be the last soldier to die during the First World War. So in a way, the First World War started with a murder, the murder of Archduke Franz Ferdinand of Austria-Hungary, and ended with another murder, the murder of Kuno Eversberg. 100 years after these events, divers visited the German wrecks at Scapa Flow and symbolically attached the German Imperial Navy flag to some of them. Friends, thanks for watching this video. I hope you found it interesting, and I hope to see you soon for another video. Bye!